Alright, and it did come back. Probably about 30 seconds after I just paused. Just trying to save while recompiling the textures. I really need to disable the auto save. Do not like that. It caused corruption. I know. I don't want it saving while I'm busy deciding whether or not I want to put a mesh here or use this texture here, and then suddenly it just decides to persist to disk. Oh. But okay, so those are the things you're going to need to deal with now. Excuse me. All right, that's done. Let's check the system usage here. Yeah, it's sitting about 26 gigs. CPU is doing about nothing, so that's fine. So as you can see, the terrain itself, the textures are tiled incredibly tight. So let's just drop in here. I want to go out of this mode. Let's just see. Okay, I do not want to be in this landscape edit mode. Alright, do it again. It takes a little while to start up, even when you're playing an editor. But you can see the frame rate is not horrible. It's not that terrible. When you turn around, it drops to like 7, almost 8 milliseconds. The draw call. It's pretty rough. In fact, that's pretty rough. For just terrain, I mean, you know, it hasn't even done anything. It's not doing any real rendering other than here. Let's go to wireframe. So on wireframe, tessellation is working. Yeah, I mean, this is you could use sneaky tricks like fog and that, but I want to get into performance now. What I want to do is I want to fix this these textures. Now you can see it's tiling here like crazy. It doesn't really look like grass. It just looks like a funny sort of clay, whatever. So let's fix that. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to go back to my landscape material, and I want to bring in the normal as well for these guys. So let's start there. So I want to go here to textures. Bring in the grass normal, sand normal, and the one that I use, rock basalt. So it's this guy here, right? I choose browse to this guy here, rock basalt T rock. So this cross. So that's sandstone rock grass. Okay. I'm going to use the same coordinates for them. I'm going to duplicate this layer blend here. It's exactly the same one. There's only one. Any changes you make to this one, it'll apply to that one. Oh, doing this wrong. So that's grass, sand, rock. That into the normal. Okay, see. And then I want to just make sure metallic and roughness is 0. Not like this. Let's hit that with a save. Oh, never hear that. I'm sure I did something wrong. Do the spec as well. Oh, I don't have rough. Let's remove rough. We're putting it in spec. See if that makes a difference. Yeah. It's very bright. Crazy about the brightness, but that's got to do with lighting. Give that a quick run. So keeping in mind, I'm rendering, showing the entire tiled world everywhere. So everything is visible all the time from everywhere. All the levels are streamed in, which is why this is taking so long and why it's so slow. And that's what I want to do. That's how I want to demo this. So now we still have the problem. We got rid of the shininess, which is good, but we still have the problem of the looking a little bit too. We still have the problem of the tiling textures, and it looks really bad. Let's see if I can go down and zoom in here and see if the normal. Yeah, you can see the normal, just barely. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to change the scale. Something that I like. So let's make this. Let's start with 5 and just see what that looks like. I'm going to move this off screen. Come on. A little bit bigger, maybe 10. Like that. I'm focusing now on the small detail first. Let's say that would be okay. Let's take a look at the rock. What would the rock look like close up? Looks a little bit stretched to me. Could be maybe a little less. Find a place where it's really visible. Be a little less stretched. And what I mean by stretch is I think it's a little bit. It's okay. It's not. Play around with the value, and then this guy. This is some weird texture that like the sand texture. I need to change it. I don't like. So let's do. They're using weird splotchy polygonal look. I don't like it one little bit. Let's see what other sand do we have. Only got that. Do we have any ground? Gravel. We can try gravel. Okay. So then I need to change this guy as well. To gravel. I'm just using the stuff imported from Unreal's library, the starter content, to do this a little better by going to a website and doing your. Oh, there we go. That's much better. I prefer this to whatever that was. I don't like that faceted look. Okay, so close up, it doesn't look too bad. Obviously, it's going to be tiling like crazy. You just zoom out there, you can see it tiling like crazy. So let's do the next step. For the next step, I'm going to do the macro texture variation. For that, I'm going to go to the starter content and I'm going to borrow from Unreal Engine, because I know they use it quite a lot, almost everywhere. And this is what I want here: macro texture variation, reduce macro contrast. Control C, and once you've copied something from Blueprint, you could save this as a text file somewhere for you. And when you copy this to the clipboard as text, because that's what it is, and you paste in Unreal's Blueprint editor, just as long as you have the starter content, because it's going to reference textures, and there it'll work. Okay, a lot of you already know this, nothing new. So what I want to do is I want to mix in or blend. So I'm going to just use a multiply, because it's fairly inexpensive, rather than doing any other fancy blends. I'm going to do the same for the normal, probably. So we'll do this first, and I'm doing it. I'm going to do the multiply here. Come on. I think that's how I did in the other one. I just want to make sure. Yeah. What? That's my. That's how I did it. I could be wrong, and I might have done the multiply here at the end after the blend, which will be less expensive. What I'm doing here is pretty expensive. Multiply to the multiply here. So let's do that. It's going to be more efficient. Operations are very expensive, no matter how you cut it. Right, and that's going to be my base color for now. Probably want to do the same for the normal. So let's duplicate this. I think I did this, but I did wrong. And then this goes into the. And let's just see what that. So with macro contrast, what we should be getting is just a little bit of breakup. Yeah, that's not terrible. So you see these little splotches now, getting these little splotches. Just breaks up the tiling a little bit, but it's still not what I want. And now also the the normals look weird. Under. I'm not going to multiply the normal. This looks too weird for me. Undo that. If it made any difference. Maybe the normals aren't that great of the but I did like the look of it actually, that I think about. But let's put it back. Undo, and save. And then see the difference here. I'm also macro contrasting the normal. Let's see how it sort of makes it pop a little bit. It could just be me. I should really watch Tyler Perrier's tutorials on World Creators. How to create nice terrains in World Creator. You can get some really nice terrains there. This isn't great, this terrain that I've created. It's not. So you can see it did break up the tiling a little bit, but it's still not what I want. So I'm gonna add one more step here, and hopefully I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna add a camera fade blend. So I want to blend in these three textures again, but with a different set of landscape. So I'm gonna create another one. Landscape. Landscape cohorts, yeah. And I'm gonna set this to about 150. Start with 100. And I'm gonna duplicate these guys. Put them over here. Now normally I'd organize these a little bit better. But let's get in there. So these are gonna be stretched. Really. Now they also have to go into this layer blend here. So that is. And it's the same one. If you make changes to this one, it'll change that one as well. Just how it works. Okay. So let's just something here quickly. Put this where else? Right. This here and just give it a. This is the detail tile. And there are different ways to do this. This is the. I'm just going to call this macro tile. I don't have to do it this way. I like doing it. I'm not going to touch the normals. I'm not going to provide the high tile with normal. So let's add a screen camera fade blend. Camera depth fade. All right. And we're going to multiply. You go here. And he's going to need one of those as well. I also want him to have work on. So let's do another multiply here. Also want him to have. So there's the high stretched texture, and here's the detailed texture. They're both getting macro contrast added to them. So I'm going to put the high, the one that gets stretched the most. Sorry, it goes into a lerp. I'm just looking at my notes here. So a linear interpolate. Linear interpolate. So we're going to lerp between the high texture and the low texture. This is then going to feed into base color. We're going to use the alpha from the camera depth fade. And for the fade length, I'm just going to make this a scalar. Oh. Yeah, it's a scalar. Come on, where are you? Call this camera fade length. Keep stuff the same as my previous one. And I'm going to put the value at 5,000. So within 5,000 Unreal units, you're going to see the detail texture, and from outside of that, it's going to fade to the high texture. If this worked, if I did this correct, I may not have. The last time I did do this one, weeks ago, I might have made a mistake. See how many times I have to click this. Working. Now I'm not sure if it worked or not, but looking at the need a focal point of something. I think it did work. Let's choose a point here and just slowly go in and see what happens. And there you can see, did it pop? convinced. Check. I missed something. 100. 10. It is right. Macro. Yeah, I think it's right. Wondering why it's not visible as I was hoping it would. Or if I maybe swap the order around, but I think it's good. Let's see. 3. Come on. Where would 5,000 be roundabout? I'm not crazy about these textures. I really don't like the grass textures. They're really weird. Let's see. I wonder if it's maybe the other way around. Because I can see really high detail. Just see if it makes sense. No, I'll just quickly pause the video. I can't always remember. Come on, man. It's harder to tell. Also, something that's bothering me is I'm not seeing my normals. I see the smaller details there. I'm supposed to pop larger details here, but I'm not sure if it's the texture. Yo, this camera zooming. Let's see. It's really hard. Let's use different textures. Or let me just quickly open up. Don't remember. Offhand. And I remember it did take me some time to figure this out. Because once again, there's not a lot of tutorials on how. So this is all trial and error. And this one, mine also has roughness. I have a roughness layer. So we have our high tile, which is set to 100 to the cohorts, and then they get mixed in with the macro contrast, and they go in here in the second one. And then the small tile, which is set to, I'm using 2.5 here. They go through the layer cohorts, and then they get multiplied in with the macro contrast, and then they go into the top one. And we're using the alpha from this fade here, and here we're using 5,000, so it looks like it's right. The material with the high go for 50. Material that gets stretched a lot goes first. So as it nears this fade length here, as this nears 5,000, it should automatically start fading to B. wonder if that doesn't. Yeah, so to me that would have been 0. Between 0 to 5,000 it should have been 0, meaning A. And as it hits a gradient of 0 near the camera, the white at fade length useful for preventing particles. Only then the lower one should. I think I may have mixed it up in the other one, to be honest. 5,000. Come on, I'm gonna make the tiling a bit less on this guy. Go for. Oh, this is the detail tile. Keep it the same as the other. Save that. Okay, I think that's gonna work. Although in the other project it I can see as I'm getting closer, I'm getting lower. But this looks really weird. This is doing really weird things. Do not understand. Yeah. But that's definitely not. Is that 10? Let's see if I make. That's definitely not 50. It would be 2. Let's bring it back to 1. See, it gets smaller. It doesn't make a difference. I think these are swapped. Suspect. Yeah. I swapped it around. So that's bad. So this must be the detailed tile in here, and this must be the high tile in there. But let's take this back to something reasonable, like I'll go for 50, and this one here we can leave at 1. Let's just see what that. I got them mixed up somehow. So, and then it loses its yeah, it loses its normals. So there we go. Yeah, so it's working. So you can see there's the detail tile on 1, and as you zoom out, it should be using the tile of 100 or 50 or whatever it is. So that's why you don't see any tiling, and as you zoom in, you can start seeing the rock like better, more detail. And as you zoom out, should be using there you can see those cracks there. That crack there is the same crack here. So it's just the order is swapped around. Now that kind of annoys me because I don't understand. Not the same here. It is there. Just quickly load these. Sure. So now I'm running 2 Unreal Engine. One with a 6x6 kilometer and the other one with an 8. The system might just crash on me. So here I'm zoomed out pretty far. Here as I'm getting closer, you can see it using the smaller one. There as I'm zooming out, you can see it's using the bigger one there. So I need to understand why, because an explanation. So the macro contrast, this guy is the small tile. Oh, I didn't see that. I'm blind. Small tile goes in first. It's this line here. And that goes in first, yeah, so it's the same. And I don't know why did I swap it around. Why did I think it was swapped around? So this must be, the first one must be correct. We're doing here. This line here. Okay, so this is the camera fade. So let's just quickly explain it again after all of that hoo-ha. Now I don't have roughness, so I'm gonna just set this to 1. And let's just save it again. And give it a second. Right, so it's, yeah, that's what I expected. As you move further away, it's using the higher tile, and as you move closer in, it's using the lower, smaller tile. The lighting here isn't great. Can bring it down. Remember how? Have to go to post-processing. I think you need to drop in a post-processing and just disable this adaptation because it's over bright. And if you drop in here for a second, let me just close this other window because it's going to affect the frame. You can see it doesn't look too terrible. Now it's very tightly tiled, so I might want to change that. And you could then go and expose this as create a material instance from it. Expose these textures as parameters. As long as you give these the same name, there'll only be one parameter. Then you can change these values, and then you can introduce a multiply here. So you could introduce a multiply here with a scalar, so you could easily change this. So what I want to do for the detail tile is just make it a little bit more visible, and maybe for this one, let's go for a little bit higher. Just see, maybe it doesn't look great, but this is doing exactly what I. So now on the detail it should be a little bit more visible. When you're close by, you can see some of the finer grassy things, and then as you move further away, there you can see it fading in the stretchy. And then they're both using macro contrast reduce, so you do not see tiling that easily. You will still see tiling depending on where you are. I mean, not that it completely removes it, it just tricks your eye. You can still see but keeping in mind when this thing is populated, it's not going to look that bad. You're not going to notice it much. And also the other thing is, if you didn't use that macro contrast and just use the texture, you'll see the tiling much easier. So this might be a little bit high for the ground texture. You can see it's losing some detail. The ground texture is normal, isn't I don't know why. Really not. Yeah, so you could probably scale those individually if you wanted to, and expose it as a parameter. So that's how I did that. This effect. As you zoom out, and you're seeing some black splotches here. That's going to be shadow. It's dynamic lighting. So yeah, anywhere where there's crevices, that's why it's important to import first import a nice terrain that you're happy with from World Machine. Because fixing these afterwards is a pain. You need to recreate your whole level. You need to re-import everything. You don't need to recreate your materials, your landscape. But now let's say you did re-import your landscape. You would have to do, like I said, close Unreal Engine, go into your project, go to contents, close some of these folders here. You'd have to go into your content here, go to your maps, delete this folder here, reopen up your engine, and then your levels here would be gone, and just your persistent level would remain. Delete any landscape and gizmo actors that are left over from the previous level. Re-import and re-export your heat maps as well, world creator, and then you'd have to come in here on your landscape. You'd have to hit this guy again, go to paint, right click here and re-import your PNG, and that will take, again, like last time, everything all in all took about 20-30 minutes. Yeah, be prepared for that depending on the size of your landscape. If you're only doing a single, you know, one tile, it's going to take you no time at all. It'll be really quick. So here I can see the ground texture a little bit better. You can see it popping a little bit better. So maybe here it's just doing some blending between the grass. You can see some green there as well. It looks a little bit bland. Might even consider bringing it up a little bit. But all in all, it's not terrible. And obviously, this guy's not using IK, so it's not going to remain flat. It's got nothing to do with what we show here. Let's fly around just a little bit and see if we focus on something. This is also not the best rock texture. I'm not crazy about it. It's a little over white and it doesn't have a lot of nice detail, but it's a good starting point. And then you can see as we zoom out, there it's getting replaced, and it's doing a nice fade. So the further away you go, actually the better it looks, and the closer you be, it does. The texture. That's why I chose those textures, to get those texture a little bit. Anyway, I'm waffling on now. That's the video. That's this. So you can consider it a tutorial if you want. I don't normally did this one. Really annoying when you're trying to look for something, especially world and tiled builds and tiled world composition, and you cannot find it. So this is a 8x8 kilometer world. As you can see, it's humongous, it's massive, and it doesn't look completely like poo. Not crazy. It still feels a little bit too shiny. I'm not crazy about the lighting. We'll bring that down a little. But you can also see the frame rates aren't that bad. And we did this from scratch. Brand new, from scratch. Using World Creator 2, Release Candidate 14, and Unreal Engine 4.21. Right, out of here. Thank you.